Good morning. I am the Reverend Denise Gouch. My pronouns are she, her, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to worship with the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. As Unitarian Universalists, our spiritual paths vary, but in this congregation, we have made a covenant together. We affirm our interdependence, celebrate our differences, and work for justice. We are a welcoming congregation, and we deepen our relationships as we serve our congregation's mission to create community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values in the broader world, guided by reason and compassion. I'd like to extend a special welcome to visitors worshiping with us this morning. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you may find it here. If you have questions about our congregation, please do be in touch with me. You can find my email address in the staff directory under Contact Us on our website. I look forward to hearing from you. If you are with us for the live broadcast of this service on Zoom, won't you please say hello in the chat? We love hearing from you there. No matter what platform you're using to join us for worship, you can find helpful information like ways to give, faith development resources for all ages, and more in the worship portal on our website, firstuunash.org. We are so glad you're joining us for worship.
My name is Jay Tiefenbrunn. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm delighted to serve as your Director of Music Ministries. And this morning, I'm doing double duty as your projectionist. So hopefully things will go smoothly. Our hymn accompaniments today are provided by musicians from both First UU Nashville and Northlake UU in Kirkland, Washington. And the collaboration of our music teams has been a gift to us all. Our morning song is by UU singer-songwriter and musician Jim Scott and reflects our spirit of community. Won't you join Maria Cavan on piano, Colin Frey on cajon, and our joined virtual choirs in singing Gather the Spirit. Gather the Spirit, harvest the fire, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in awe, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun, winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope,
Good morning. My name is Elaine Bailey. My pronouns are she, her, and I am co-chair of worship and sing in the chamber choir here at our church. The words for the call to worship were written by Gordon B. McKinnon. Ministry is all that we do together. Ministry is that quality of being in community that affirms human dignity, beckons forth hidden possibilities, invites us into deeper, more constant, reverent relationships, and carries forward our heritage of hope and liberation. Ministry is what we do together as we celebrate triumphs of our human spirit, miracles of birth and life, wonders of devotion and sacrifice. Ministry is what we do together with one another in terror and torment, in grief, in misery and pain, enabling us in the presence of death to say yes to life. We who minister speak and live the best we know with full knowledge that it is never quite enough. And yet we are reassured by lostness found, fragments reunited, wounds healed, and joy shared. Ministry is what we all do together. The words for the chalice lighting were written by Peter Scott Lee. We light our chalice in honor of all those who serve in our ministry. May the chalice be to us a symbol of the sharing of faith and hope which they have brought. May the flame remind us of the giving of their lives and love upon the altar of service and truth.
Good morning again. You can see that I'm joined by our developmental lead minister, Reverend Diane Dowgiert, and together we have the great joy of introducing you to and honoring a few people who have made the decision to join our congregation. Each of the folks I'm about to introduce has already spent time learning about our congregation and exploring the resources of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. New members, please join us here in the Zoom spotlight as I call your names. Julie Grower. Many of you will recognize Julie because she's been very active with our music ministries. Joan Kite. Joan, some of you may have met during our Zoom social hours, but if you haven't met her, or even if you have, you might want to talk to her further. She does lots of interesting things in the Nashville community. And Bethia Phelan. Bethia lives in Cedar Hill, Tennessee, which is up near Springfield. So Bethia, we're really excited for the time when you can make the trek down to Nashville to be with us in person. All three of you, we are so pleased to welcome you as we were once welcomed ourselves.
Julie and Joan and Bethia, it is a joy to welcome you into our community of memory and hope. Each time we welcome a new member, we become something new. New members, will you walk together with us, sharing the joys and the responsibilities of membership? If so, respond yes.
Yes. Yay. Members of First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville, I invite you to participate in this moment of covenant by sharing your response to the following questions in the chat. You can do one response for many questions, by the way. Will you welcome these people into our congregation? Will you reach out to them in friendship, including them in our activities and fellowship? Will you be open to their unique gifts and perspectives? Will you extend a warm welcome to each of them, remembering that each of us was once a new member? Thank you for your answers in the chat.
Becoming a new member of this church is an important first step, but it is only a first step. I charge you, new members, to grow in your faith. More importantly, I charge you to find and share your special gifts with us. Ours is a shared ministry. Each of us has a crucial role to play. We need you. We need your energy. We need your ideas. As you give generously of yourselves, we all become enriched.
Now, this is our membership book, and unfortunately, I can't ask you to sign it right now. But I will save you each your own line in this book so that you can add your signatures when we are able to be together in person again. In addition, I will also be mailing you a small celebratory package, so you can be watching for that. And I want to welcome you, Bethia, Joan, and Julie, to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. And now we would hear applause if we were in the sanctuary. So everyone imagine that, wave your hands, yay. And I want to address the whole congregation. I want to thank all of you for making each other feel welcome, even under the strange conditions of the past year and more. Every time you welcome a newcomer in the chat or engage each other in conversation during social hour, or just show up online again, still to be together, you have kept us connected and strengthened our community. I can't wait to celebrate with these new members and all of you together in person. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning. I'm waiting for Diane. There we go. Good morning. I'm Gail Spar. I'm co-chair of the Committee for the Larger Faith. My pronouns are she, her. Every year, representatives of Unitarian Universalist congregations across the United States gather in a General Assembly to conduct our association's business, to learn and worship together, and to take a stand on social justice issues. This year, as last, GA is being held virtually. First UU will be represented by members selected by the Committee for the Larger Faith. Representing us this year are Roddy Biggs, Elizabeth Gashir, Jeannie Hammond, Jessica Moore Lucas, and unable to be with us this morning, but still representing us at GA are Jennifer Hackett, Darielle Mayer, Rachel Rogers, and Edie White. Representing our congregation at our association's General Assembly is both an honor and a responsibility. You have been chosen because of your past commitment to leadership, Unitarian Universalist values, and our democratic processes.
As a delegate, you have promised to attend all the business sessions at General Assembly, be informed of the issues coming before the body, participate with open hearts and minds, and represent First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville as members to the best of your ability. After General Assembly is over, you have committed to help our congregation know and understand the actions taken in our name. Do you now accept this responsibility and promise to carry it out to the best of your ability? If so, respond by saying, "We do."
We do. We do.
I think they do. Members of the First UU of Nashville, do you now affirm these delegates to the 2021 General Assembly? And again, would you please show your affirmation in the chat? Thank you, delegates, for agreeing to serve.
Thank you. You may know that we share every Sunday's collection with an organization whose work outside our walls aligns with our values. Our Share the Plate partner for the month of June is our congregation's Trans Affirming Collective, whose mission is to encourage our UU community to celebrate people of all gender identities through education, advocacy, and collaborative solidarity. You can learn more about them in the worship portal at firstuunash.org, where you can also find the link to our online donation form. As always, your gifts, like your presence among us, is received with gratitude.
Ask him his name, I forgot his name. He'll say it here in a minute.
Thank you, Holling. Let us join together for a moment, taking a deep breath, recognizing that we are indeed connected in community, even though we are separated by space. We are connected in many ways. And I'd like to bring us together in prayer with an adaptation of a prayer named Apart But Together, written by the Reverend Dr. Cynthia Landrum. Spirit of life and love, this year we have gathered together in many different ways, from computer screens, from telephones, from car radios. We have gathered, reaching out across the wires, waving from a safe distance to come together in religious community. From living room to front porch to car seat, we have gathered as we have been able, ready to be of service to each other, to the world, ready to build the community of hope and of love. As we face this bright morning, we are apart, but we are together, offering our love, our commitment, our hope, and our prayers in service to one another and to this world. It has been a new way, but an old way, that we have come together in worship. Blessed be, and amen.
With us here today are members of your core staff, the Reverend Denise Gouch, Assistant Minister of Congregational Engagement, Marguerite Mills, Director of Lifespan Religious Education, Jay Tiefenbrunn, Director of Music Ministries, Mary Lindsay, Administrator, and Sherry D. Giovanna, Director of Communication. Together, we want to express our deep appreciation for all the volunteers who keep the ministry of the First UU Church of Nashville vibrant and alive. The words we are using were written by Jay Libby. For all the volunteers, when there was a need, you came forward.
And so we thank you.
In the nighttime or daytime, on weekends, and even in the coldest, darkest part of the year, you helped.
And so we thank you.
Elected and duly appointed, or quietly, anonymously, and unbidden, you did what needed doing.
And so we thank you.
Sometimes with the help of many hands, other times alone, you worked.
And so we thank you.
You gave your time, talent, and even your treasure for the life of the congregation.
And so we thank you.
Your families and loved ones supported you in your efforts. They worried for you when things piled up and perhaps even grumbled at you for the extent of your commitment.
And so we thank your families and loved ones.
For all things, great and small, you have given this congregation. We take time today to recognize, to thank you, and to honor you. Thank you, volunteers. And I will also add words of thanks to your awesome and amazing staff. And especially today for Maddie Lindsay and Kendra Anderson, who are always there for us on the back end of Zoom, providing tech support. Today is a celebration of the ministry of this congregation, ministry with a small m, the ministry that is shared among the clergy and laity. There's a Zen saying that no one can ever step into the same river twice. It is also true that one can never step into the same congregation twice. As with rivers, congregations are always flowing, changing, and moving forward, yet over time are recognizably the same. As we welcome new members, the congregation is changed. As we recognize volunteers, the ministry of the congregation is deepened. As we send other members to work on behalf of the congregation as delegates to our General Assembly, our association of congregations will be changed by the work that takes place there. The delegates will return to us changed, and thus the congregation will be changed yet again. This is what it means to be part of a living tradition. A few years back, my husband AJ and I made a whirlwind trip to London and Paris, a trip that left an indelible impression on me, one that informs my thinking about ministry with a small m, still to this day. While the trip was intended as a vacation, it ended up being a pilgrimage, really. For AJ, it was a pilgrimage to his birthplace in London. For me, a pilgrimage to some sacred religious sites. We took in some of the tourist favorites: Trafalgar Square, the Victoria and Albert Museum, Harrods department store, the Eiffel Tower, and the Louvre, to name just a few. But the highlights of the trip for me were Westminster Abbey, the Cathedral of Notre Dame, and the Essex Unitarian Church, otherwise known as the Essex Street Chapel. While the religions represented by these three sacred sites differ from each other in theology and ecclesiology, in that they have different beliefs about who or what or if God is, and different ways of understanding the nature of the institution of the church, what they hold in common is this: each is home to a ministry that existed before any of their current members arrived, and in all likelihood will continue long after they are gone. A ministry carried out by people just like me and just like you, some who are ordained to a ministry as vocation, and some who simply show up again and again to do their part. Now, this is something that I've always known intellectually, but there was something about the hundreds of years of history embodied in those cathedrals that for me was like an epiphany. The dictionary definition of epiphany is a manifestation of a divine or supernatural being. I did feel a divine presence, not a supernatural presence, but a sense of all the living, breathing beings, the people who for centuries have kept these ministries alive. When I first walked into Westminster Abbey, it felt like walking into a museum with its roped off areas filled with carefully labeled artifacts and relics. There was something of a holy feeling that comes with encountering that long arc of history, but it felt a little bit like being among the fossilized records from a bygone era. Then, somewhere in the cathedral, the nuns gathered for their daily prayers, and the sound of their voices chanting the Psalms filled the space. It echoed off of the stone walls and soared to the heights of the vaulted ceilings. As our tour group passed through the chapel, Sextons were setting up folding chairs. Our tour guide informed us they were getting ready for a funeral later that day. Suddenly, I felt a manifestation of the divine, a living, breathing community of people doing the work of ministry. Everyone from the tour guide to the nuns, to the sextons, to the cashier in the gift shop at the end of the tour. All of these and countless unseen others were doing ministry. And not a single priest, pastor, or capital M minister in sight, though there would be one arriving to preside over the funeral. All these people together were keeping the ministry of Westminster Abbey alive. The day we visited Notre Dame, the line, or queue, as they would say in England, wrapped all the way around the cathedral, which was surrounded by scaffolding. My heart sank a little. A major renovation restoration project was underway. Not wanting to spend our one day in Paris standing in line, we instead took a few minutes to marvel at the gargoyles and flying buttresses, and to let the tall spire of the steeple lift our gaze toward the heavens. We paused to read the sign in front of the church. Between the two of us, AJ and I could read just enough French to know that the sign described the scope of the building project, how much it would cost, and asked for donations. While the ongoing maintenance of the building is still the responsibility of the French government, the day-to-day operations fall to the local parish. In that moment, reading that sign, the cathedral became more for me than a monument to the past, but a sanctuary for a living, breathing community of faith carrying out their ministry. In that moment, I imagined that somewhere in that ancient cathedral, there was a room where the parish finance council met to pore over operational budgets, and where the parish pastoral council met with the church staff to keep the worship life and the social life of the congregation happening. The whole world watched in dismay as the cathedral burned in 2019. Not only was an iconic sacred site being destroyed before our eyes, one that had stood for centuries. My thoughts turned to the community of faith being displaced from their spiritual home. My prayer for them, still to this day, is that they will sustain themselves as a community until the reconstruction is completed in 2024 as scheduled. Communities of faith are resilient. The Essex Street Chapel occupies a historic site in London, and the current building was built in 1977. The church dates back to 1774, the oldest Unitarian church in England, our religious cousins in England. It was established by Theophilus Lindsay, who had left the Church of England due to his Unitarian views and beliefs. AJ and I attended a Sunday service at Essex Street Chapel. We were greeted at the door, handed a printed order of service and a hymnal. We were then ushered into the sanctuary, where the small congregation was seated in a circle. The service included introduction of visitors, joys and sorrows, a sermon, and the singing of a hymn. When the service was over, the congregation moved into the social hall for coffee. Yes, coffee in England, but there was tea. AJ and I helped ourselves to coffee, and sat at a vacant table. In true Unitarian form, no one joined us, no one talked to us. We sat awkwardly alone until a kindly man finally came and sat with us. He introduced himself as the president of the board and then apologized for how we were being ignored. He went on to explain that really they were a friendly bunch. It's just that a week ago they had said goodbye to their minister and the parting had not been amicable. Stunned and grieving as they were determined to keep the church's ministry alive. Judging from their website today, that small band of committed folks did just that. Today, again, reading their website, their activities include Sunday worship, a green spirit group, spirituality classes, and LGBTQIA+ dances. Does any of that sound familiar? The church in Essex is once again without a minister, but recently so, and it sounds like this parting was amicable, as their former minister will be filling the pulpit once a month. Though much has changed at the Essex Street Chapel in London, much has changed since Theophilus Lindsay was the minister. Much remains the same. What remains the same is the message being proclaimed, that there is a unity to life and a source of love that will not let us go. The stories of these sacred sites that house communities of faith and ministries that grow and change over the years reminds me of the words of the poet Adrian Rich. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. The lifeblood of ministry is found in the people that Rich so poetically describes. The lifeblood of ministry is found in the people who show up day after day, year after year, generation after generation, keeping the river moving forward, keeping our living tradition alive. In the words of Gordon McKeeman, Universalist minister of beloved memory, ministry is that quality of being in community that affirms human dignity, beckons forth hidden possibilities, invites us into deeper, more constant, more reverent relationships, and carries forward our heritage of hope and liberation. Ministry is all we do together. May it be so. May we make it so through our living.
We close today with a gospel song written by Faya Rose Touré. In addition to writing plays and musicals, Touré was the first African-American female judge in Alabama and has founded and worked vigorously on numerous civil rights-themed museums and initiatives. It's worth searching her up. To lead the singing this morning, collaborating virtually, we have Holling's piano arrangement, which is phenomenal. My friend from Portland State University, Colin Fry, on cajon, who recorded in Mexico, and harmonies created by myself, Tom S., and David H. It's a zipper song, meaning one word changes each verse, and I'll line them out for you and invite you to sing and dance freely around your home or wherever you're joining us from. Won't you join us in singing There's a River Flowin' in My Soul? There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul, in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. Oh, it's flowing. River flowing in my heart. What's it telling you? Telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. It's flowing in my mind. A river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing, a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
Can't wait to harmonize with everybody in person. That'll be so fun. All right. The words for the chalice extinguishing were written by Elizabeth Sell Jones. Please say them with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I leave you today with words written by Susan Manker Seal. Much of ministry is a benediction, a speaking well of each other and the world, a speaking well of what we value: honesty, love, forgiveness, trust, a speaking well of our efforts and speaking well of our dreams. This is how we celebrate life, through speaking well of it, living the benediction and becoming as a word well spoken. This service has ended. May our service to the world continue renewed. Go in peace, go in love.